Thanks for pressing play on another Pay Me No Mind sports and entertainment video. My name is Wood. Consider subscribing to the channel if you like the content. If you dig the way any information is being presented, broken down, discussed, previewed, analyzed, recap, so on and so forth, hit the like button. All feedback would be appreciated. Share the video, etc., etc., etc. Some bite down boxing. Got to get into it quickly. I always talk about up until recently there was only one boxing show that was on Sirius XM, and there was an older show that's like 8 years in the running, and it's Randy Gordon, and it's hosted by Randy Gordon, who was at one time he was at Ring Magazine. Another time he was also the state athletic commissioner in the state of New York. Whatever. And then he's co-hosted with former heavyweight world challenger Jerry Cooney. And they do Monday and Friday night. And so this week, with the return of Adrien Broner, somebody just left the live. You only get 15 seconds, with people. You only get 15 seconds. But anyway, I had to set that up. Saturday was the return of Adrien Broner, whether you like him or whether you don't. That's really not my argument. But my problem with this week's At the Fights, which is the show that comes on Monday and Friday night, is that Randy Gordon actually sat there and was just extremely vocal about wanting to see Adrien Broner in specific terms. He wants to see Adrien Broner get his comeuppance. He wants to see Adrien Broner shut up. He wants to see Adrien Broner punished in the ring. He wants to see Adrien Broner soundly defeated and basically eliminated from the sport of boxing. And I just think that's unfortunate, man. And I think it's his show. He can do what he wants to, and he can present boxing and discuss boxing however he feels. But this is what fuels some of the trash that I see that goes on YouTube with some of the boxing on here. And I'm really struggling. That's some very sketchy professionalism for somebody who covers boxing on such a public or such a high profile platform, to sit here and say that you want to see a fighter beat up badly, and to see him, the opportunity for him to make a living, his livelihood, that you want that taken away from him. Like, at what point do you stop and say, I'm stepping over the line and I'm going to just let that man live? Like, I hate him, I don't like him, but I'm not going to compromise my integrity in front of my audience to spit out my hate for another individual. And how does that make you any better than Adrien Broner? Now, the remarks that Adrien Broner made after the fight, I mean, hey, that's him. And it's not my favorite, but we can see recent, just from yesterday, and it's, I'm gonna do a podcast on it this weekend, but Adrien Broner's remarks, they resonated with a large number of people, his fans. And we just saw yesterday with Meek Mill, who put this lyric in some new music about the late Kobe Bryant, and said some line about the helicopter. It was something about him and a chopper, which means gun or machine gun or assault rifle or whatever. And then at the end of the bar, he says something chopper Kobe. And a lot of people didn't have a problem with that. I saw some people coming to his defense yesterday on the Instagram post that I was reading. But Vanessa Bryant, his widow, Kobe's widow, came out and said that she was hurt. It was insensitive. You know, it was nasty. And I saw somebody talking about, well, what's the big deal? They both from Philadelphia. That's the rationale of some people that listen to that. Personally, I'm not a Meek fan. I don't really listen. I don't rock with his music. I don't know nothing about him. But as it is, where we are as a people, where we as a society, nobody's really gonna say nothing about it. And a lot of people are gonna keep nodding their head, buy his music, and continue to support him. And the same thing with Adrien Broner. You know, if you thought it was, if you thought it wasn't a problem for him to sit there and talk to or reference Steve Farhood in the manner that he did, hey, you know, that's your opinion on it. It's not so much that I have a problem with it. I can't even say it's unprofessional, because that's Adrien Broner. That's how he chooses to comport himself. That's how he wants to, that's how he presents himself to the world time and time and time again. So it is what it is. But Randy Gordon, I expect more from you, because you host a show. You curate boxing week in and week out to the public. And like I said, for you to get out in front of your feelings and speak out of your emotions, I thought that was pretty foul of Randy Gordon. And that's why I quit listening to the show as much, especially since they put the midday show on at noon to 2. I just started listening to them, and I really don't even mess with Randy Gordon and them anymore. Occasionally, I'll look on the on demand, and I'll go back. I just got a message. I'm sorry. Oh, I'll go back on demand and see what the individual segments of the show are, and whether or not they had anybody that I wanted to interview. I mean, damn, if there's an interview that I wanted to hear, and I'll listen to that specific interview. The other thing that Randy Gordon said, and I turned the shit off, but another thing that Randy Gordon said was he had Xander Zayas coming on the show, because he fought Saturday against James Martin. He defeated James Martin. But he said, I'm going to ask Xander Zayas, he's like 19 years old. But he said, I'm going to ask him something about Adrien Broner, because they sparred together. And he said this a couple of times. I don't want Xander Zayas to work with Adrien Broner. I don't want them associated with him associated with Adrien Broner. I don't want him taking pictures on Instagram with Adrien Broner. Like, again, get out of your emotions and get out of your bias. How does it hurt this 19-year-old kid to spar with somebody who's a former 4-division champion? Like, why wouldn't he spar him? Now, conversely, Al Bernstein, for him to sit there again in his professional role of being a commentator and commentating the fight and giving his round by round interpretation of what's going on in the ring, he compromised his integrity. Now, in his situation, we all saw what happened between Adrien Broner and Al Bernstein. It was in the middle of the press conference for Manny Pacquiao 2 years ago, Manny Pacquiao and Adrien Broner, and he threw a question to Adrien Broner, and Adrien Broner, I think he called him an N-word. And I don't know what was going on. I don't even want to get into it and try to get in Adrien Broner's head what was going on in his mind leading up to that fight. But he cussed everybody out. He cussed Leonard Ellerby out from Mayweather Promotions. And he called, and you know, it was kind of unprovoked. I think it was like Al Bernstein's first question to him. And he just blew up and called Al Bernstein out of his name and said some disrespectful stuff to him. And I think Al Bernstein has held on to that. And I believe that's what surfaced Saturday night during the fight. and why Al Bernstein refused to give Adrien Broner credit for what he was doing during the fight. And I mean, if Showtime doesn't say anything about it, the funny thing in all of that is after Broner said F Twitter and F Steve Farhood to Brian Custer, you know, Brian Custer, he didn't break that fourth wall and try to defend his colleague. But Brian Custer, I guess that's his skill and his professionalism. He switched it over and said, well, you know, 52% of the people watching at home thought you lost the fight. So I guess, you know, that's him being quick on his feet. But again, you know, a lot of this stuff is messy. I was getting ready to also speak on Charlemagne the God, you know, who does this all the time. I mean, that's how he does what he does, or sits in the seat that he sits in. But he just said some stuff about Lakeith Stanfield for playing the FBI informant William O'Neill in Judas and the Black Messiah. And he made a comment, Charlemagne the God made a comment to Stanfield's co-star in the movie, Daniel Kaluuya, and basically said that it's obvious why Stanfield played that role, because he has some rat tendencies or some snitch tendencies in his character. And, you know, Stanfield's come back and fired some shots back at him. So all of this stuff is messy. But going back to the boxing side of it, you know, Randy Gordon, and then you got to wonder, you know, when these guys get out and they have these blogs, some of the different outlets that are out there, just even with the coming back and throwing, like, it was people that was waiting for these numbers to come back. The viewing numbers from Saturday night with ESPN's Oscar Valdez defeat of former junior lightweight champion Miguel Berchelt, the 10th round knockout, which was viewed as an upset. The numbers from that versus the numbers from Saturday night's Broner and Santiago fight, which there was overlap of like 3 rounds. And I was watching both of them. So the viewing numbers came back, and of course, you know, but in the article for Adrien Broner's numbers and Showtime, you know, their numbers, in that article, you get down to the bottom, and they wanted to contrast those against the numbers that ESPN show did. They did add that, you know, there's 50 million more subscribers of ESPN over what Showtime's total number of subscribers is. So, you know, the disparity of like 850,000 or whatever it was for Oscar, for Berchelt Valdez versus 289,000, you know, for as a peak or something for Broner and Santiago. Again, you know, it's just messy. It's back and forth. And then, you know, of course, then they had to come back and compare Broner's fight with Jesse Vargas. You know, it peaked at like 870,000 several years ago. And, you know, to show that his popularity has dwindled down to just 270,000 or whatever it was. And, you know, you take from it what you will. But that's why us, as for everybody, when you watch and listen to, you know, whatever you get your information from, you have to be, I say this all the time, you have to be information literate. You know, you have to be source literate. Like, you have to tap in and see what this person's bias is, or what's their motivations for why they're saying what they're saying. Why are they skewing this information? Why, you know? So I don't know. You make of it what you will, but again, you know, I was trying to give At the Fights a shot and see what they had to say. And this grown ass man who's like 60, I don't know, mid 60s, almost 70, you know, he's on here basically making an ass of himself on his own platform to hate on Adrien Broner, of all people. That's the whole thing. Like, it's some people out there in your world that don't even deserve you compromising your integrity to take shots at them. Like in the big scheme of things, for me, I quit. I quit. I've been at several events where Adrien Broner was in the crowd, or I was in the back, and we passed by each other, and it was dudes in Adrien Broner's group or his entourage. I said what's up to them and gave a pound and hugged them and talked with them. And I turned around and Adrien Broner was looking at us, and I was just like, what up? And I kept it moving. Like, I don't even want to contribute to the coverage of Adrien Broner, because I see an individual that's you know, he admittedly he's his own worst enemy. And then even if you look at the comments the other night, if Mr. Espinosa does this for me, why ain't Al Heyman Mr. Al or Mr. Heyman? Why is Espinosa Mr. Espinosa? Espinosa. But he says if these guys would help me out, these guys would keep me in the ring, I can stay on point, or I can stay on task. Why did this man is admitting that he has no self-control? So at that point, I don't even need to throw punches at that man. Like, what's your next opponent? Is it something I want to tune into, or is it not? That's it's as simple as that at some point. And that's that. Anyway, man, like I said, at the fights, like I said, I'm glad for me that they've given us something else on Sirius XM. We can tune in and listen to something. We have an alternative finally. The only thing I would say with Ak and Barack, them brothers need to quit arguing with one another so much. It's getting really bad lately, and I don't know if it's an effect of COVID. They've both been broadcasting from home the last year, basically, or at least in a few weeks, or maybe in a month or so it'll be a year, and maybe they just very irritated with that format. But Barack constantly going behind Ak on all his opinions. I mean, yesterday, like 5 minutes into the show, it blew up. And it's like, somebody needs to pull them to the side and say, man, this shit, nope, this ain't good radio. And I'm saying it's not good radio because sometimes Barack is clapping at Ak, and they go back and forth, and then neither one of them even knows what the hell the argument is even about if you listen to it, which is a microcosm of communication in today's world, person to person anyway. But anyway, let me get on off of here, man. Like I said, it's Canelo fight week. It's something out there today on DAZN's, either their YouTube channel or Matchroom Boxing or whatever. If you check on there, if you want to do the whole fight week thing, to be honest with you, I don't really have a lot of interest in this week's fight week activity. I am a little excited about the card Saturday, with especially in the co-main event with Julio Martinez. He's always exciting. And then the heavyweight fight with Zhilei Zhang versus Jerry Forrest. You know, just looking at Otto Wallin last week, I don't really have a lot of knocks against Wallin, but obviously, you know, to hit a dude that many times at heavyweight, to hit a dude cleanly that many times and not get a knockout or not, you know, buckle a guy, stagger a guy. He did beat Brazil's face up pretty bad, you know, and lumped him up a little bit. But at least Zhang, I have seen him put some guys away. So from that perspective right there, I'm interested to see if he can get Jerry Forrest out of there, who's kind of a limited heavyweight in a lot of ways. But it sets up, you know, the next thing for Zhang. Actually, Wallin and Zhang sparred recently ahead of these two fights. So it'll be good to see, like I said, what's next for Zhang. Is he, you know, does he take a step forward, and do they line him up for, you know, another top 15 guy or a top 15 guy? I don't know where you might have Zhang, but I know we saw yesterday Hrgovic and Michael Hunter was ordered by the IBF. So again, while all of these heavyweights are waiting around for shots at the titles, with those being tied up between two guys, what do some of these other heavyweights do? And how do they stay sharp, stay busy? and how do they avoid, suffering a setback like Dillian White and getting knocked out by, Povetkin and whatnot. So, like I said, after that on that card, a bunch of prospects pretty much. So, you can watch it Saturday, you can skip it. You can watch it Sunday and you can go directly to whatever fight on the card you want to see. No one is handcuffing you to make you watch any of this stuff. You either in or you out. Anyway, man, my lunch is up. Have a great day. I might jump on later tonight and do a live stream about something. I got a few invites out there for some boxing people. Maybe they respond, maybe they don't. Anyway, bite down boxing. Don't let them count you out. Pay me no mind, sports and entertainment. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. Peace.